Good morning, everybody. DeeDee here for the Donna Downey Artist Gang of 2016. And we are going to do an art journal page. I am taking a small break in my triptych series to do a filler post for the blog. And you can see here I've got a piece of watercolor paper that I have covered in Liquitex gesso. And I'm giving that a heat now. I like to work outside of a book. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that on the Donna Downey Artist Gang blog before, but I like to work outside of a book so that I can do like things like sewing and stitching and stapling and some more 3D pieces or hole punching and things like that. And then later I will either stitch this into a journal or turn it into a journal, or maybe it will even become a journal cover or something like that. But fairly often I work outside of a journal. Now I am gathering I have a little dollop of Liquitex gesso, and then I have a medium gray heavy body paint, and this one is called Unbleached Titanium, and these are the Dick Blick versions, some studio acrylics. But if you're getting other paints like Liquitex or Golden or anything like that, it's really close. That kind of tan color is really close to Titan Buff. So just for future reference. And then my gray is sort of a medium gray. And I am using my fingers to get some kind of almost like hazy and dreamy effects in the background. And I'm just rotating and working back and forth and between all three colors and kind of blending them together, but leaving areas and just really creating sort of a neutral mid-toned background that I can work on. And I did use an acrylic block for my miniature palette because my other palettes are really large. So this works just fine. I am going to give it a quick dry with the heat gun here. And the thing is, when you work with acrylics and they're wet on wet, then they'll mix. But if you dry one layer of acrylics and then you put the next layer down, they're not going to mix. So it's very nice. And I've got a thin brush, just a round brush or a fine liner, but it's a really, really itty bitty one. And I've added some water to the extra paint that I had left and kind of splattered that on my background. And then what was left at the very end, I just smeared onto my underpaper. And I'll save this underpaper and use it for something else. If you look back through some of the videos I've done for Donna Downey's Artist Gang so far in 2016, one of them I actually used underpaper to create a really cool set of ATCs. Now I am using that same gray tone, and I have spread it out on the left-hand side, and I'm using one of Donna's alphabet stencils, and I'm wiping back some of the paint that is in through the stencil so that those letters show up. And then once I remove the stencil, I use the same baby wipe to kind of scruff up the letters a little bit because they were looking very uniform, and I like things a bit more distressed and disheveled. And now I am doing the same technique over on the right-hand side. And I chose the medium gray because I thought that it would help tone down that kind of that unbleached titanium or that Titan buff that was going on there. And now I save packaging, I save everything really, but I've got some golden fluid acrylic in carbon black and a mark maker. And I'm going to do a little bit of mark making here. You can see I inadvertently splattered some paint in the background, so I thought, well, let's just go with it. So that's what I'm doing. This is what I call like the song and dance. I kind of refer to it a lot, like put down some paint, pick some back up, down some paint and pick some back up, until you have exactly what you're going for. And the great thing about acrylics is generally they stay wet for a little while so that you can do this, and even more so with fluid acrylics. And the fluid acrylics have some really great movement to them because they are so fluid. So it's fun to add water and move them around and sop some of it up and put some back down. Today's art journal page is really, it's a branch out in color for me. I really like neutrals, which is where it started, but then I thought I would get out this green gold fluid acrylic, and it is such a fun color. It was a little bit hard for me to work with at first, but I really enjoyed the final process. In my little cup, I've got a splash of green gold and then some glazing medium. And I'm just going to go back and forth between the two. And I will also dip my finger into some water, and it's just even. We live in the desert. I live in Las Vegas, so even with glazing mediums, sometimes my paint dries a little bit quicker than I'm wanting. So I'll dip into water every once in a while as well. And I'm just gonna more of the song and dance. I'm just gonna go back and forth and move it around and spread it out and make it a gradient. And I'll go around the edges with it. You can see there that was water instead of the glazing medium. But I do go back and forth between the two. And paint too, I dip back into the paint to make my colors nice and bright. And it's a process. It's you put some down and you pick some up and you put some down and you pick some up until you kind of get either what you're going for, or you get surprised by a really great, maybe you accidentally touch the middle, or you know, whatever, however long it takes you to be happy with what you're working on. And just keep some baby wipes at hand, and I always keep some water and that kind of stuff. So I'll just do the song and dance here for a couple minutes and a couple seconds because it's on fast forward, and then we'll be back with a little bit more information. All right, now that that's drying, I should also say that that glazing medium did keep the paint fairly wet so that I could pull some of that back once it got a little too bright in the middle there. Now I've got a piece of scrap paper, and I made a mark with the leftover paint that was on my mark making tool. And I turned it into a mask to go over my circle. Now this part is fairly important. Everything has to be dry at this point, because if it's not dry, then things will start to stick together to your stamp and to your mask and all kinds of whatever. But I masked off that circle and stamped on some butterfly specimens, and then I'm using a crown. Both of these stamps are from Viva Las Vegas Stamps, and I'm stamping the top of the butterflies with a crown, and just a fun little kind of collage pieces going on here. Now I'm using a pen and writing around the edge of the circle. At this point, I wish I had gotten out my fine liner, to be completely honest, because my pen, even though it's supposed to be for this type of thing, it kind of just dug into the paint. I guess I'm a little bit heavy-handed. It still looks fine, but I think it would have been nicer with my fine liner. So if you're going to replicate my page, use your fine liner. Then I used a little bit of Daler Rowney's Artist Ink, and I splattered a little bit on my page because ink splatters are delicious. You could also do this with a black gesso or something like that. And then I got out my Donna Downey set of stamps from Unity, and I'll have the exact name in the supply list. And it's such an inspirational set. I love using it on everything. It makes its way onto almost every piece I do. And I stamped that, and I'm stamping in archival ink. And any black archival ink is fine. I'm using Ranger's brand new black soot archival ink, but jet black would be great too. And then I am finishing with a stamp. And I just used some Yoo-Hoo to put that down. Thank you so much for joining me today. And let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe to Donna Downey's Artist Gang YouTube channel, and find me also DeeDee Catron, DeeDeeCatron on YouTube, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram and all kinds of things for other inspiration. Thank you so much.